Good afternoon and welcome back to live streaming coverage from the Goldline U.S. Open Contender in Blaine, Minnesota. My name is Jerry Gertz of curlingzone.com and I'm joined by special guest Chelsea Carey. Welcome, Chelsea. Can you hear okay there, Chelsea? Sorry about that. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank
I had
you.
myself on mute there, so you couldn't hear me as I introduced you.
Excellent.
So we had a couple of technical difficulties. Of course, the computer decided to freeze as soon as we started the stream earlier, and then decided to do a big crash. And of course, Windows Updated decided to join the party too. But now third end here. Team Sobering took 2 in the first. Ruohonen bounced back with 3 in the second. So it looks like we've got a bit of a barn burner going on here with Sobering looking for another big score.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of yellow in the house right now.
So we've got Rich Ruonen's team. Many people are going to be familiar with them. They are the 15th ranked team in the world. We've got, Rich Ruonen at skip. Trying to see the lineup he's got out there. They added Andrew Stopera this season at third, replacing Greg Persinger. Colin Huffman remains, as well as Phil Tilker, and Croy Nürnberger is sort of a 5th player on the team, but they do a bit of a rotation and keep everybody active. So Chelsea, I'd like to welcome you to the show, obviously, and it's great to have you here for some commentary. And
Thank you.
kind of tell us a little bit. The whole pandemic thing's been interesting times for everyone. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's been weird. It's our season got shut down and that, I mean, we only had probably 2 more events anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world in that sense, but it got pretty real pretty quick to not be practicing every day, and just your normal routine got shaken up quite a bit. And at least we're back to some sense of normalcy now with being able to go to restaurants and things, but it's been bizarre. It's been challenging to try to find a new and different routine without access to the gym or the rink or the things you would normally do in a day. So it's been a bit strange, but the gym thankfully is reopened, so I'm back doing that. And there's no ice at the club just yet, but it's coming soon, so hopefully get to throw some rocks in the near future. I'm a little jealous of these guys that are out on the ice right now.
Yeah, you've got I think Leduc is open in Alberta. Have you heard of anybody else being open yet?
I haven't yet, but the ice is going in at the Calgary Curling Club shortly, and as well as the Glencoe. So we're getting there. Most of the clubs, I think, here are going to run leagues at least, and I'm not sure there's going to be a whole lot of Bonspiels, but there should be at least 1 or 2. I think Red Deer's running their event at a different time, if I'm not mistaken. I read that the other day, and we're getting back to sort of normal, but it doesn't feel normal for sure.
Yeah, I think the key is just trying to get onto the ice and playing some games and, getting that normalcy back a little bit, right?
Bizarre. I haven't taken a slide since the Scotties. And that was in February. I don't think I've ever gone that long without throwing a rock. It's very strange, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, I get it. We did the right thing, but it definitely feels weird.
Yeah, we can notice that from you're not the only one. I think a few of these teams are going through the same thing as well. We've been covering a few games, and it's the rust is pretty obvious. You'll see some of these teams, they'll play some pretty brilliant ends, and then they'll come back and look like they haven't been playing for 6 months. So
for sure. Well, and they haven't been playing for 6 months, so that it's normal to look like that, and there's not really a way around it. It's a bit of a crazy time. So I mean, at least they're out there playing. It's a lot of us are still sort of waiting for that opportunity, right? But it's been a very strange time, and for sure everybody's rusty because no one had access to anything this whole pandemic. So it's been a very strange off season, to say the least.
So Rich Ruonen is in the hack to throw here, facing 3 Sobering Stones right now, looking for the double here. Just trying to cut down the damage, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. You don't hate, giving up a deuce here isn't the end of the world, but anything more than that wouldn't feel great after you just took a 3 to bounce back. Nice double there by Richie.
So, of course, the Sobering team out of Denver, Colorado. Darryl Sobering, Canadian roots there, so that maybe explains some of his curling prowess here. I don't want to totally throw out the Canadian term here, but Sean
We're not
Stevenson.
biased or anything.
He does have a team of American curlers with him, though. So this is not the first time Darryl's had some success. He's kind of a relatively new curler onto the competitive scene again, and I know that he qualified for the U.S. Nationals in, I think it was 2017 or 18, the year it was in Everett, Washington. And his lead at the time was a first-year curler.
Wow. That says something. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's sort of one of these things where you're really starting to see teams like this in the United States start to make their mark.
Which is
You
good.
know,
It's the game's growing in the U.S., which largely thanks to Mr. Schuster and his little win there in at the Olympics last year, or 2 years ago. But it's great. It's great for the game. We're seeing a lot of growth in the U.S. and even in like at this level, but at you learn to curls and all that stuff. They've unfortunately the pandemic I'm sure has set them back a little bit, but it's awesome to see the progress that they've made in the last little bit and to see teams like that coming up and the interest and the excitement about curling in the US is great.
yeah, I agree. It's the smaller events that are really getting started and giving teams the opportunity to play games like this. You look at that call right there, a very veteran move, draw to split the rings, where you'd probably see some of the younger teams actually play that hit and try and lie too.
Yeah, and the thing with the hit is it's great if you make it, but it's so easy to roll out, and then you've thrown away your deuce because you can see for Rich Ronan, you can see a good chunk of that other yellow rock behind that guard. So very smart call. You don't have to be perfect; you just have to hit full 12 foot. I mean, it's not that hard a shot, but you're right. It's easy to default to a hit, especially with less experience or with junior curlers and things like that. It's a common thing that you see happening, and then they roll out, and then the end's gone.
So Ruohonen back with the return shot here. Sort of, you just take your medicine here.
Not much choice there for Richie. Yeah, you're giving up the deuce regardless. There was no chance at a double or anything, so no sense in taking any risk. Make a hit and stick, and worst case scenario, you're down one with, which isn't terrible at this point in the game.
So last rock here, the third end to come. Darryl Sobering looking for the hit and stick for two. So just so you know, Chelsea, if I ever start calling ahead, it's not that I'm clairvoyant, it's that I'm trying to switch the live computer, and I got to try and make sure I stick to the right screen here.
I was going to be so impressed when you predicted the future.
And there it is, the hit for two. Sobering goes up 4-3 here now after three ends. We are streaming from the Goldline U.S. Open Contender. We're streaming from the Four Seasons Curling Club in Blaine, Minnesota. My name is Jerry Gertz of CurlingZone.com, joined by Chelsea Carey of Team Carey. I think, obviously millions of questions I know you've had already about what you're going to be doing for this season. It's certainly, with the pandemic and everything going on, it's sort of put a bit of a pause on things, but
Yeah, what season?
yeah, exactly. So let us know kind of what you're thinking for your curling going forward, if you've thought
It's
about
hard.
this
Yeah, it's
or
hard to
maybe.
say. I'm hoping to. I mean, you're sort of waiting to see what's going to happen. To be honest, like we don't know what the decision is from Curling Canada with qualification for the trials now, because that's going to all change with postponement of the Canada Cup and things like that. So it's made a big impact on everyone's plans for the season and for teams and what it means as far as points. And do you need to pick players based on points, or do you just put together a team? It's all a bit up in the air. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a very strange time, that's for sure.
So we're getting back here into the fourth end. Ruin will take over hammer. That's Croy Nürnberger throwing lead. Not surprising. You use the local-ish guy versus the guy from Seattle.
Croy, part of the organizing committee, had a really good mixed doubles event that they run in Madison. Was lucky enough to go to a couple of years ago. It's a great event and great town. It was my first time in Madison. I had a blast there. It was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think they put on a really fun streaming show there too that I've tuned into. Maybe
Yeah,
supported by the Line and Kegels. That's
yeah,
the
Lang
title
and
sponsor.
Kugels. Yeah,
Line and Kugels.
and they also sponsor, I believe, Team Hamilton, Matt and Becca.
Yep, that's right. One of the great sponsors that we've kind of found in the United States. I know with everything that's happened, the Schuster gold medal, as you were alluding to, it's certainly spiked the interest for the sport in a lot of ways, and it's great to see that growth continue. We kind of all thought we were going to get rich the day the United States won gold, but
We're
it's a
still
little bit.
waiting for it in Canada, but
Yeah, I know. It's a different story. The Canadian teams win gold. It's like ho hum,
yeah, well,
unfortunately.
it's expected. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
supposed to win gold.
that's not quite the reality anymore. I know the game has
No, it's
definitely
not.
changed, and
The world
it's
is the world is here. It's not that they're coming; they're here. It's very, very real these days. Even, I mean, if you look at especially the Grand Slams, which is strictly based on points, right? Your top 15 or 12 or however many teams they're inviting, half of them now are not Canadian, which wasn't the case if you look back 4 or 5 years. So they're definitely already here. I mean, the number one team in the world on and off for the last couple of years has been Anna Hasselborg. So we're definitely seeing the world come on really strong, which is, again, it's great for the sport. It's a lot of fun to see those international teams coming up and winning and getting good. It's not so fun if you're a Canadian losing to them, as I can personally attest, but it's great for the game for sure.
yeah, it definitely it's sort of the expectations that the fans need to have when they tune in, right? Like you're really talking about a massive improvement of the game, and it's really been a lot of fun, specifically watching the women's game in the last 10 years.
Yeah, the
The
women's game.
evolution.
The women have the world versus Canada has caught up in the women's game a little quicker than it has in the men's. I think it's there in the men's game now, but it's been there in the women's game for probably 5 or 10 years, kind of thing, where
Yeah,
it's more recent and on the men's side. But it's been. I mean, as a fan, I imagine it would be great. Like I say, as a player, sometimes it's not so great because it's more good teams that you have to beat. But it's definitely awesome for the sport, and it's been fun on a camaraderie standpoint, like and for us to get to travel to those places too, because their interest in curling and their teams being good means that there's more events. So, you get to go to Japan and you get to go to Switzerland and you get to go to all these places because they have these really great big events that all of a sudden are popping up because they're interested in curling, which, is good for everybody. So it's been quite a neat time to be involved in that sense.
yeah, it just makes it such truly an international game.
Exactly,
Yeah,
which is a change, which it wasn't for a long time there. So it's made that progression, and then I mean, and having the U.S. come on like we just talked about, and win the gold medal is they were a country that was maybe taking a little longer than some of the other international countries, even though we're so close to them. But then now all of a sudden you see that, and then you see some young teams coming up through there. Jamie Sinclair on the women's side, Corey Dropkin and the Young Bucks on the men's side. It's impressive and it's great. It's the development of the game in the U.S. Has been huge in the last couple of years, and that's again, it's good for the sport. Be involved in that sense.
yeah, it's amazing to see. Obviously, we saw a little tumble there out of one of the sobering sweepers. We've got just for that lineup: Darryl Sobering skipping, calling the game; Sean Stevenson, Sean Franey, and Josh Chetwynd round out that lineup there.
Team Ruohonen looking for a multiple score here, so they threw up that corner guard early, and they've been trying to get behind it. They're not taking a ton of risk, keeping the blank alive here, playing hits and rolls instead of ignoring the rock in the house and drawing around the guard. But they've made a pretty good one here, and that's a large chunk buried, but it is behind the tee line. So I'm going to see a play attempt here by Team Sobering, but this probably needs to curl a little bit.
Always great when you can get your opponents chasing you around the corner guards, isn't it?
100%. You hate going around the corner guard when you don't have the hammer. That's the kiss of death right there. But
And
for Team
we
Sobering
just
here,
see
they don't
it.
have much of a choice. But now they bounce this off a little bit. So if he can ever get to the inside of this and tap it back, he could sit two buried behind this corner guard, and then the pressure's on to make a good freeze or tap for Team Sobering.
So Colin Huffman throwing second stones here. This is the part of the game that we've seen the most struggles with, the weight control of the players, just finding that draw weight, that finesse weight here.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me when we're talking about rust, right? Because the thing about draw weight is it's just repetition. It's throwing and throwing and throwing and getting that feel for that kick and changing the kick by 2 feet or a foot or whatever. And so with no access to practice ice throughout most of the pandemic, it's not very surprising that they're struggling with that part. That's the part that requires practice. Your hitting and your line of delivery and stuff, you can probably get away with a little bit more easily, but that feel, that touch game, that's where you need to be at the rink every day and throwing a million rocks and getting used to those kicks.
So that little bounce out into the open here does leave a double available, and Team Sobering is going to make that attempt.
Good shot.
They have come to play today.
No kidding. So again, you could ignore this and go around the corner guard, but now that rock is so good, looks like it might even be covering the pin, that it's hard to ignore it. So playing the little bit more conservative option of a hit and roll. The thing about hit and rolls that I think people sometimes don't realize is just how difficult they are and how low a percentage of the time they're made. Drawing around that guard is a lot easier than making this perfect roll. But for Rich Ruohonen, doesn't mind a blank here. So it's okay if you don't make the roll perfect. You take your blank at the end of the end. It isn't that bad, but pretty good attempt there.
Exactly. This is sort of the new age strategy for playing with 5 rock rule. When you have hammer, you want to have almost no rocks in play, and when you don't have hammer, you want every rock in play.
Yeah, you have to play more aggressive without the hammer and 5 rock for sure, which is a very big shift in thinking, because you feel like when you have the hammer is when you should be taking the risk. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. If you look at the stats, it's absolutely the right way to play. But it's scary when you're the team doing it and throwing up double centers and things when it's a close game without the hammer, because that's what 5 rock rule dictates a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you look at this scenario, though, it's the kind of case that sort of alludes to it. Like Sobering is really, no chance to steal here, and they're totally at risk of giving up 2 or 3.
And they don't have much. It's not even the steal that you're looking for; it's the force. And they have basically no chance to force here. I mean, if they made an absolutely perfect roll behind this corner guard at some point, but then you're rolling behind a corner guard still. So you really only have one shot to do it on your skips last, because you don't want to take a risk and roll behind the corner guard and leave them something to freeze to before that.
Andrew Stopera here throwing third stones.
The new addition to this team, of course, anyone who's been watching for the last little bit, Team Ruohonen has had quite a bit of success in recent years, but with Greg Persinger, for a while he was throwing last rock, but then throwing third rock at some point too. So a little change for the look of Team Ruohonen this year.
Yeah, sometimes, lineups and relationships, they do change over time. And I think that sort of matchup had sort of run its course. I know Greg is back with the team again.
It's just one of those things. No, that's okay. That's normal. I mean, that happens to every team, right? You just at some point it burns out, or you spend a lot of time with these people, and it's like a relationship. And so, sometimes after a period of time, it doesn't necessarily mean anything went wrong or there was any kind of ill will. It's kind of run its course, and it seemed like that was the case here. And Stopera coming up out of juniors with a very good junior career, and promising young player, and great opportunity for him and great opportunity for Team Ruohonen. It's a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. Greg is playing with Dominic Merkey this season. I believe they've added Craig Brown as a 5th player / coach to that lineup. I think some of that is related to Greg being in Alaska and probably just trying to figure out how to fit a lineup all the time. We've got Sean Bagnier on that team as well. They were a team that I believe they snuck into the playoffs at Nationals this year.
I think they did. Yeah. Dominic Merkey's been around in the US for a few years now and has kind of made some noise a few different times. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And the addition of Craig Brown, of course, like all the experience you could ever want from him. He's had a great career and has been involved in a lot of very successful teams. So a great addition for them, I think, as far as a coach, like you say, a coach fifth, and the experience and the knowledge that he brings from that side.
Yeah, Dominic comes from Switzerland. He's a watchmaker by trade, and work brought him to the United States. A woman has kept him here, and now he's become a U.S. citizen. So that's what made him eligible to play in the Nationals last year. Now his only challenge is he lives out of, I think it's Northwest Arkansas. So
Oh, really?
having
I didn't
dedicated
realize that's
ice
where.
is very difficult for him.
Yeah, which is challenging when you don't have good practice conditions. It makes it tough. So a little tick on the guard here by Team Sobering is giving the opportunity for Richie Ronan to split the rings.
Yeah, sorry about that. I switched the camera a little late. We'll get there in a moment. Yeah, the tick on the guard, and luckily for Sobering, they didn't tick it any harder and tick it into the
Yeah,
rings.
that's what I was worried about. That's the problem with playing that when you can see that rock on the wide side, on the board side, and you're playing a kind of a hack weight shot. The scary part is if you tick it any harder, it becomes a three all of a sudden because you tick that rock into the house. I was worried that's what was going to happen for Team Sobering, but luckily they got away with it. And it's still probably going to be a deuce for Team Ronan, but it could have been way worse if they hit that guard any harder.
Yeah, Ruonen's team drew to split the rings, but they did go a little deep here.
Yeah, opportunity for the hit and roll for sure. And that's the good news for Team Sobering about the way they ticked that guard is it made it more closer to a center guard, which gives them the opportunity here to get that steal or the force that we were talking about earlier in the end that they didn't have a chance at. However, if they don't make this perfect, it's an easy two for Team Ronan. So big pressure shot here. This could swing the end and the momentum in a pretty big way if he makes this good.
Yeah, just a little slow on that one, too. Trying to do 5 things at once here. Hits it a little thick.
Rolled a little too far, unfortunately. So it's going to be the exact same shot, which is all you can ask for as a skip.
So, of course, as we see here, everybody's fully massed out on the ice, throwing, sweeping. One sweeper sweep on the rock. Second sweeper is in play and allowed to help with judging, with timing, which is good. They're supposed to keep their distance as best as possible. Other things, certainly they're controlling the amount of people coming through the building. No change rooms open. Come dressed. All that stuff for play here.
No mistake here. That'll be a deuce for Team Ronan.
It's been a very good game, and you see there, the low risk deuce. It makes it an easy score. That'll make it 5-4 after 4 ends, and we'll be right back. Back here into the fifth end. Ruohonen with two leads 5-4 here at the Goldline U.S. Open Contender. My name's Jerry Gertz of curlingzone.com, joined by Chelsea Carey. It's always great to have your insights here, Chelsea. I know you really enjoy the commentary side of things, and maybe a future for you post-retirement someday down the road.
Yeah, put that hint out to the networks. That would be great.
So we've got Team Ruohonen, based out of Chaska, Minnesota. Rich Ruohonen, Andrew Stopera, Colin Huffman, and Croy Nurnberger, with Darryl Sobering. They're out of the Denver Curling Club, a relatively new facility there. Have you been to the Denver Club yet, Chelsea?
I haven't. I'm dying to go. I was hoping to play in. I think there's a doubles event that's down there, but it's tough now with COVID and the quarantine rules when you come back from the U.S. But yeah, I was hoping to get down there this year. Everybody I've talked to said it's a beautiful facility.
Team Sobering is Sean Stevenson, Sean Franey, and of course Josh Chetwynd throwing lead stones here too. So it's been a back and forth game. Team Sobering 2 in the first end. Ruohonen bounces back with 3. Then 2 for Sobering and 2 more for Ruohonen here. A true 5-rock rule game.
It's been a shootout so far, and we're not going away from the aggression here. Rich Ruohonen throwing double centers, so going hard for the force here, maybe get a steal out of it, but does not want to give up a deuce or let him blank based on the double guards. Really nice draw here by Team Sobering. It's a good way to neutralize those double centers. That's the thing, is it's hard to ignore them. You throw up your corner guard, and this is the challenge in 5-rock rule. You throw up your corner guard, but when do you get to use it? Because you can't ignore those double centers. If you go around the corner, then Team Ruohonen makes this draw, the same draw that Team Sobering just made. Now you're in trouble with giving up a steal. You got to make a double run or something. So it makes it really tough to use that corner when you have these double centers thrown against you.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the challenges that we see with some of this aggressive play. You know, it's sort of that whole idea when you don't have the hammer, every rock in, and you're trying to clog up that middle and make it difficult for the opponent. And that draw there, now the scoring area for Team Sobering is the 4-foot.
Pretty much, and like they can't make that draw very much better than that, but that's the challenge, is now you've shrunk your own scoring area and you've probably negated the use of your corner guard. At some point, it's going to be hard to ever bring that guard into play, like I say, unless you make a double peel run back into the house here.
Yeah, so now you turn around and you look at defenses of this. You know, how do you prevent the double centers from becoming a thing? And I think that was something your team really perfected during your run through the Scotties in 2019 now, right? Yep.
2019, yeah. Yeah, the tip.
You know,
that's how you negate it. That's the only way to negate it. Yep, that's the only chance you have. And you can play the tick multiple ways. You can play it like you can throw the corner guard and then throw the tick and try to roll your shooter behind the corner guard. Or if their center guard is higher, then you can play the tick to roll your shooter to a corner guard and move their rock over. So there's a lot of different uses for it, but it's a hard shot. So you have to be confident you're making it, which the only way to do that is to practice it a lot, which is what we did, in order to get to that point. It's not just the thrower. It's actually, for me, it was hard. The line collar, it's a lot on the line collar because it's such a touchy. And if the weight's a little heavy or a little light, so then that's where the sweepers come in, is the communication of the weight and the accuracy of that. Like, it's really such a team shot that it's very difficult, but it's very effective. It just takes the wind out of your opponent's sails pretty quick if you make them a lot. Scoring area not looking great here for Team Sobering. There's kind of guards blocking everything, and like you said, they've already sort of limited it to the 4 foot, and it's not getting any more open. So probably going to need to look at making some sort of run back or double peel here to give themselves a shot at multiple points.
Yeah, the challenge with that though is it's the way the setup in the top of the rings there is that it's not great for you either. You open it
No,
up,
it's
Rich is then gonna make the next shot, and you might have trouble even removing any of those shots to try and score, right?
100%, but it's your choice is, are you, because the only other option is to pretty well take your one. Yeah, there's no other way to get two. So I think you got to take a risk. If it's me, I'm throwing some kind of run back, and even if you jam it in there, it's probably not a whole lot worse than it is right now. And best case scenario, you maybe give yourself a little bit more room, but it doesn't look great. I'm pretty happy if I'm Team Ruohonen. I'm not so happy if I'm Team Sobering right now.
And you can see there just a little bit of uncertainty with what they're trying to do. A lot of just sitting there and staring at the rocks.
Well, this is a bit of a swing point, right? Is it bail time? Because that's the decision that you're at that point in the end where if you're going to bail, it probably needs to be right now, or you stay on the offense. But if you get your one, it's not the end of the world. But at some point, then it could turn around where Team Ruohonen makes a run back, and all of a sudden they're sitting 2 or 3 buried because of the way that freeze is set up on those on that top 4 foot yellow.
Yeah, if there's anybody out there who wants to watch a team who does a really good job of playing that all in without and nothing in play with, it's this Ruohonen team. They've really bought into the tactics and the way you sort of drive the game that way, and it makes for fun games. It's been their evolution from the start as a team when Rich and Greg got together, and they formed this team in 2018 ahead of the Nationals, and they just sort of out offense their opponents, and they went super aggressive against them, and it just fits really well into their nature.
And when you sort of set that mantra for your team, again, you get good at it because okay, this is how we're going to play this. Therefore, you have to make these freezes, and you have to make, like if they don't make this perfect freeze the way they did here, then it very quickly turns into a multiple point end for Team Sobering. So it's about execution. But I think when you decide as a team that you're going to buy into that and you're going to go all offense without the hammer, a lot of it is just being super committed to that and then working at it and getting good at it, because you have one shot to make that freeze, but they're very good at it. It doesn't hurt having a sweeper like Colin Huffman to make those kinds of shots. But I think at the end of the day, it's committing to that strategy. And once you do that and you don't waffle and you don't, you're going to probably give up some big ends, but you stay committed to it and you practice it. And then all of a sudden it becomes your identity. And the more that's true, the better you get at it. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense.
So it looks like they settled on the draw around the intern side here.
So not bailing. So we're going all out here for Team Sobering on the offense. It is there. He's got the whole 4 foot, so you can sit 2 with this option. Bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense. Not bad. I'm not sure. I thought he was trying to come around that. Maybe it was just a little bit light. It worked out okay, but it is lined up now where if something gets run back in there, both those yellows will go pretty easily.
Yeah, if Ruohonen can get... maybe they're just looking at... the option is the peel on the high yellow there, it looks like.
Yeah, I think they're just playing the run, but if they're not going to make it, they'll switch this call pretty quick.
Well, interesting here. If they hit it on the nose, it'll probably just get the back yellow.
The top one might spin if they hit it on the nose, depending how hard they throw it. It doesn't have to go very far to not be shot, right? It's only shot right now by an inch or 2.
Yeah.
Through the hole
Anders
to this
Tepera here
middle.
with the throw.
Over curling on them a little bit, but that's not a bad option either.
I think the optional, rip the yellow one was the key here, because now that yellow stone is mostly wide open.
Well, and now, like I say, if they had come around their own rock instead of freezing to it on top, it would be better, because
Correct.
now that double is there. So now you're going to have to protect the rest of the end against setting up that double. And if that double's made as it sits right now, all of a sudden Team Ronan's sitting 4.
Sobering does have the option here to make a good freeze. Sean Stevenson throwing this stone. Just a reminder to everyone out there watching, please share, like, comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the feed. We'll be back with the next draw. I think 1:30 Eastern time is the ballpark time. I don't think that's going to happen with where we are now in the timeline here, but
I thought it was 1:30 Central, no?
It might be 1:30 Central. You might be right on that.
Blaine
You said 12:30, meaning
12:30 my
Alberta
time. Yeah.
There we go.
Blaine is Central, I believe, so I think it's 1:30 Central.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back all day long. We've got that draw, then we've got another afternoon draw, and then we've got 2 draws later tonight. The curling Zoom party is going to get on board, and we're going to commentate this show here, and sort of a merging of interesting dynamics there. You've been part of the Zoom party a couple times, haven't you?
I have, yeah. It's been an awesome thing during quarantine. I mean, everybody's stuck at home, so there's been a few of those broom stacking and Zoom parties, and I've spent more time on Zoom and FaceTime in the last 6 months than I have in the rest of than I probably ever will for the rest of my life, to be honest. But it's been kind of cool because it's people that I might not otherwise have spoken to that don't live in the same city as me, because normally I would be out for dinner with friends, but it's Friday night and there's nothing else to do, so we just get on Zoom and chat, and it's been a lot of fun, actually.
And watch some awesome curling too.
And watch some, well, now that's great. We didn't have that option for a while there. Didn't quite make the double, so I would suggest the Team Sobering got away with one a little bit here, because their guard actually over curled quite a bit and left that double opportunity for Ruohonen, but it's missed and they're sitting 1 still. It's still not great, but it's better than I thought it was going to be at this point. I'm going to try to make the double here to sit the 2.
The question is whether that jams on the
yellow one. It looks to me like it should hit it, but they seem to think it's not going to. Oh, well, he's not throwing it very hard, so maybe that's why.
Gonna have to go on this.
Uh-oh. So now the question is, do you play this little run back, or do you ignore it because you're a shot rock right now for Team Ruohonen? You could just guard that, but he's gonna have some kind of run back opportunity. I think the little red yellow run back is probably on the riskier side, but if you make it, you sit 3 or 4, which obviously is always good news.
And when you consider the fact that looks like it lines up the angle in the middle, you might even want to just leave it.
Exactly. Well, yeah, if you think this jams, then you don't touch it. So I think that this call will be in here. You can see Colin Huffman indicating that as well.
I think the call they're looking at just the T-line weight, maybe come down, get to the inside, half a stone, roll underneath, maybe 3/4, kind of roll into the middle and just rejiggle that pocket.
But if you think it jams, then why would you touch it?
That's the real question. There is where do you put the other one then?
Well, you could just guard it. You could just throw a long guard on this rock. So because if he's going to try to play the double, which he just did, so you have to assume he's going to throw it again. Then you could just throw a guard on this anywhere from just over the hog line to kind of halfway, and take away that double if that's what you think he's going to play. So I think the call that they're going to choose here is going to be dictated by whether or not they think this double will jam on that side yellow. Based on that ice, it looks like he's going to make a play on it. So my guess would be that they think it won't jam.
This is first of the skip stones here in the 5th end. This thing is out there.
Yeah, it's going to need to curl a lot. Looks like it's maybe a little bit heavy. That's why it's tracking so much.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you'd like to get it by if it was going to stay wide, but yeah, you needed to hit something to stay and play, it seems.
You're still sitting shot though, so it's not terrible. It's not the plan, but it worked out not as bad as it could have, I suppose.
I think the triple, though, does go across the top now.
Yeah, it looks like it does. I agree with that. It's I mean, it's debatable. I'm not sure what the striking bands are like with these rocks, but it it could definitely go across the top.
Yeah, I think you got to hit it fairly thin to make that happen, right? Get enough sideways action.
And I think you have to hit it fairly thin to make it anyway if you're trying
Yeah.
to stick it. So that like I think if you make the triple, it goes across the top. If you stick your shooter on that side right over there, it's probably about it's a quarter at most. It's probably more like an eighth to make that good.
Got to get some granite moving here, though. You can't miss this one.
Well, and they're talking about a hit and roll, but the problem with the hit and roll is this red rock that's just biting the top of the forefoot is wide open. So you make a perfect hit and roll, and he's got a 1 foot run back that will leave you with basically no shot to score. So I think you have to make a play on these middle two and not hit and roll off that side one.
Yeah, I think for the scenario, making sure you get your point here is key.
This is a lot of ice though, so he can't be throwing very much weight at this, I don't think. So I'm not sure what the plan is because if you're going to make the triple, you have to throw it hard. Maybe just hitting and rolling to a freeze on the side one to sit second and third. I'm not sure. I'm curious to see what's going to happen here.
It's coming out with a bit of weight here. Trying to hit this real thin.
Oh, it's maybe too thin. It's really close. Yes, needed to curl just a hair.
Thinner. Because that rock went straighter back than they wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I thought, like, I mean, he threw that pretty hard, but I think to make that, you need to be, more along the lines of a Kevin Cooey kind of weight.
Whistling it.
Yeah, like you need to throw that as hard as you possibly could to make that because, I mean, that hit it in the right spot. It just, because it wasn't enough weight, it didn't move the red quite far enough. Didn't need to go much further.
No.
Anymore, really, like another inch, and you're probably sitting two. Really
It's a pretty
close.
good shot.
Right?
They might
Great
even be
attempt,
sitting
yeah.
two right now.
It might
actually.
be. It's close, yeah.
I think in the end it was a pretty good result. It bumped out that red stone out from underneath the guard, and they did sit shot for sure. Question between the yellow and the red on the left-hand side as you're looking at the screen here.
If they're sitting two, then they made it perfect.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You can't argue with the result if that's the case. And
Yeah,
like I
if they're
said,
two right now, like Richie can hit this on the nose, they'll have the shot back for two. If he rolls in at all, then all of a sudden now there's a double in play.
Yeah, you can just see all that rock. So if it depends where he rolls.
Here it comes. Last shot for Team Ruohonen. Sobering with one to come.
Gonna roll a little too far, I think. Maybe. Oh,
Looks like they were attempting that double even.
Yeah. Didn't even have to kill the yellow. Just again, move it at all and sit your sort of two and get your force out of it.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna find out whether or not they think they're second shot here. You can make the play on the red with a hack or a bumper. It's you can see pretty well that whole red stone from the hack, so it's not bad. If you have any doubt, I think you have to play to move it and sit two. If you thought you were shot, you would just throw the outturn draw. Too close to call, I'm guessing, so they're going to make a play on this red.
Yeah, that's what it seems like here. From our overhead, it does appear to be yellow, but yeah, like you're saying, there's no reason to to not hit this if you're not sure at all.
Yeah, unless you're 95% plus sure you're making this hit, because the hits, it'd be different if you could only see an inch of that rock, then maybe you don't take the risk, but you can see the whole thing. You play a quiet weight, little tap here and get your two.
So last stone here in the fifth end. Darryl Sobering looking for the hit and stay for two. This looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's got it. Nice shot.
Nice shot. Yeah, I agree. 6-5 now for Team Sobering of Denver, Colorado over Rich Ruonen's team out of Chaska. This has been a back and forth battle here, Chelsea. It's been a heck of a game here in the A-Qualifier here at the Goldline U.S. Open Contender.
It's a barn burner. We've got a good one here. It's lots of rocks in play and lots of scoring. It's been really fun to watch.
We'll be right back with the seventh end. And we're back here with the seventh end now. Am I getting ahead of myself here? I am. This is the sixth end playing right now. This game's been such an offensive force. It's 6-5 after 5 ends. It's been such an exciting seesaw battle.
We haven't lacked scoring, that's for sure.
These are sort of your typical 5-rock rule games. It's hard to defend against giving up a deuce.
It really is, and like you mentioned, Team Ronen's actually quite good at that, because they go so hard for the steal or the force with the double centers, and it looked like it was going to go that way kind of the whole end, and then turned around late. Just a near miss by Rich Ruohonen on his last on the double. If he makes that, then it's a force and a draw against 3. And all of a sudden it turns into a deuce for Team Sobering.
Looks like Team Sobering's going to have a little conference here just to sort out what their end strategy is going to be.
Yeah, the center guard, I didn't see what turn he threw there. It either overcurled or undercurled a little bit. It's not quite on the center line. So then becomes, what's your plan? Do you throw another guard, which is what we saw Team Ruohonen do in the last end, or do you go around the one that's there, but it's a short run back? It's a bit tricky, and he still has the button, and that's the part that's a little bit challenging for Team Sobering, is you don't want to leave him that out.
And looks like the call here is to go around. This is exactly what Team Ruohonen is looking for. It keeps the end and the middle fairly open, and like you're saying, it is a short run back here now.
Yeah, this is very much the defensive call, which seems counterintuitive because you're drawing around a guard to the side of the button, but it's definitely the defensive option versus throwing the other center. If I were Team Sobering, I'd be tempted to throw a second guard. Don't want to be back T-line, and it looks like they're going to be.
And this is a scenario in the game that is very ripe for teams in the 5-rock game. You see this scenario a lot. Tight center, rock around it, corner guard up, and you'll see a lot of teams go around this corner guard.
Yeah, you could definitely ignore this, especially because it's not quite on the center line and because the guard is so tight that you could go around this for sure. If you were Richie Ruohonen here, I'm to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that he's playing around this tight guard, but
make that 2 of us.
But I mean, idea being that you make a decent shot here, your shot rock, they have to deal with it at some point. you make some sort of run back, and then your corner guard, because this yellow guard isn't quite on center line, it brings your corner guard into play a little bit more easily than if it were dead on center.
And that's maybe why this play around the middle makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I think if this guard was better, you would see the other call, but because it's a little bit, he still has some room to get to the button. I think maybe that's the reason, because I would have expected him to go around his own corner. A little short there, so they're not shot rock, but it's in a pretty good spot. It's a little dangerous for Team Sobering, but it's hard to make a play on it because the jam is lined up all day on that back yellow.
Yeah, and there's no real obvious place to put this stone for Sobering.
No, it's actually very tricky. That's a sneaky good shot. It's a miss, but it worked out great.
Yeah, it's when you start to think about five rock rule and the way it's played, it's about controlling the real estate, really.
100%. It's we've referred to it forever, and you could name the commentator who calls it the control zone, but it's true, and it's even more true in five rock rule. Anything from about 3 feet in front of the house to the top of the 4 foot is, you spend a lot of the end just jockeying for position there versus going earlier to be shot, which was the case in previous iterations of the free guard zone in 3 rock and 4 rock rule. With 5 rock rule, it's a little bit like the skins game. I remember the first time I ever played in a skins game, my dad told me the whole concept of skins basically is the exact same thing, but moved up 3 feet. So instead of trying to get to the top of the 4 foot, you want to get to the top of the 12 foot. Like, leave yourself a run back, leave yourself a little tap. That's kind of the game. It shifts everything up a bit. And now with 5 rock rule, it plays like skins did at that time.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to come down, play the same shot again. Corey Nurnberger hard on the sweep there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think.
Again, even though it's not
Sobering
shot,
was going to play the run there.
The problem with the run, I think, is you have to hit it dead on the nose. If you hit it high side, you could still make it, but now you're leaving him another corner guard.
Exactly.
You roll anywhere to the outside of that rock, then now you've got 2 corners if you're Team Ruohonen, and really no rocks in a dangerous spot. They're behind the team line.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what more falls into the no great options scenario here.
It does. It totally does. But again, this is the problem with playing the come around versus the second guard. You put yourself in a position now where your options are so limited that it's going to be hard not to give up a deuce here. It's not impossible, but you kind of need a little bit of a miss, I think, right now from Team Ruohonen, which they haven't done a lot of.
Yeah, this is the pressure shot, right? If you bounce here, all of a sudden you're in big trouble. But this shot here,
pretty
wow.
good. That's a great shot.
Yeah, Sean Franey throwing second stones. I got some OC curlers on the stream here. Sean from California. So again, another new market where we've got players.
I was going to say, the fact that you can say we're streaming somebody from California, that's great news. I was lucky enough to go, and I think you've been as well, Jerry, to the Hollywood Spiel a couple of years ago, and it's actually an amazing curling community down in California, which again sounds weird to say, but it's fantastic. It's just to see the game grow like that in the southern US is so exciting, and it's so much fun for us as Canadians to watch that excitement and that interest grow down there. It's been a lot. It's just been a really interesting and exciting time.
And of course now next time we go to California, there's a good chance we'll get to do it on dedicated ice.
That is so exciting, which has been the whole point of that spiel, is to raise money for some dedicated ice, and they're getting it, which is just awesome. I mean, I'm so happy it's just such a great group of people, and for them to, go through all this and years and years of toiling away and raising this money, and then now to get there is just fantastic. It's great news.
One of the other exciting things we're working on with Hollywood Curling right now as well is Liza Barris. I believe you know Liza as well.
I do, yeah.
One of the organizers of the Hollywood Summer Spiel for many years. She is also a Pilates instructor, so we're working on a online course for curlers to get curlers back on the ice, trying to do a weekly thing coming up in the near future. We'll likely have an interview with Liza at some point this week, and then have a test class, and then she's gonna terrorize people willing to go through her class with her.
She's very good. It's it'll yeah, she'll kick your butt, but that's what you want. That's the whole point. And
Yeah,
Pilates is
got it.
great as far as curling goes with flexibility, a combination of flexibility and strength and all those things that really matter um, to elevate your game as far as curling goes. So for Team Ronan here, so they Team Sobering made a great shot, but because of, like we said, because of the call earlier in the end, Team Ronan still had a great opportunity to sit two there. They were trying, I think they were trying to throw sort of a back line, back 12-foot weight, and just tick that top yellow, promote the red a little bit, and roll their shooter off underneath and sit two. They threw it maybe a little bit too hard and missed everything. So now advantage Sobering, which, like I say, I mean, the way that Team Sobering was going to get out of this end is with a miss, and they just got one. So here's their chance.
Yeah, I'm not sure they like this one though.
It doesn't look like they do. I agree.
Not sure what the call was there, because that looked
I
like
think,
the weight was okay to get around, but they definitely gave up on it early.
yeah, I think that the call was to go around it, but it did look like they gave up on it a little bit early. So I'm not sure. I think to me, if the call that makes the most sense is to just draw around that sort of top four, top button, tuck any piece of it, and you're in pretty good shape. But now well, it's still not bad though, because the way that's lined up isn't great for Team Ronan either. So it worked out okay, but it's going to give them another chance at, I think, a similar shot to what they just played with a kind of a quiet weight, little soft tap and roll their shooter.
Yeah, they kind of love to get both those yellows underneath that corner guard, so Sobering can't use them to run it back too.
Yeah, I don't know if you can, but you'd love to if you could for sure.
Seems the angles will sort of disrupt each other, so I think it plays out well if they can make it.
You just try to sit two, and the biggest thing here when you're trying to sit two is to make sure that your shooter rolls deeper than this rock, than the other red rock that's going to go to kind of the top of the forefoot, because otherwise you leave them the double back and it negates everything that you just did.
And looks like
Well, it looks
instead
like
of the
he's
hit this time,
throwing a draw.
exactly. Using those high top 12 rocks as guards, and this thing gets a good half buried around a top 12 stone. Looks like the ice is running pretty good there in Blaine.
It looks beautiful, which, I mean, when I've had an opportunity to play in Blaine, the ice has always been fantastic. So I'm not surprised. It's an amazing facility that they have there. Four Seasons does a great job. The restaurant that's right on up in the curling club in the viewing area is spectacular, and the ice is fantastic. So a great venue and great conditions every time I've played there. So it's something to see. It's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, and it's sort of become the template for how to build a curling club in the USA.
100%, because people come to that restaurant regardless of wanting to watch curling. It's a good restaurant, it's good food. So, that's just a smart move on the part of the curling club. I was very impressed when the first time I went there, which was a couple years ago now.
Yeah, we saw Chaska follow up building their new facility in the southwest of the Twin Cities. Blaine is north central. Of course, we've got a number of other projects potentially underway in the Twin Cities. Two more similar curling clubs like this are in the planning stages in the south part of the city right now.
That's awesome. I mean, the model obviously is working. You've seen these two clubs be very successful. So here's the challenge. That's a great shot that Team Ronan made, and I mean, a lot of the reason why they did that is because those yellow rocks are we call it hooked, where you can't promote either one of them. They were frozen already. So you come around those hooked guards. But like we talked about a couple ends ago for Team Sobering, they've now shrunken their scoring area with a hammer. Like, they basically only have the forefoot. The good news for them is they always do have this wide intern right now, unless something changes. But you can draw to the forefoot on the intern side. So they do have a shot for two at the moment, even if everything stays the way it is right now, which is pretty shut down in the middle for them with a hammer.
Looks like we do have our quarterfinals set for the Adelboden International in Switzerland as well. They just finished up the C-Qualifiers there. You can find those scores on Curling Zone as well. And if you search it for it on YouTube, Adelboden, Adelboden, they are also streaming all weekend as well. So lots more curling to watch. You can tune in between draws or run multiple screens, or it's just good to have curling back on the tube again.
Get your sports fix.
So Joel Returnas of Italy, Jaap van Dorp, Yannick Schwaller will meet in a quarterfinals game. Silvana Tiranzoni reached the playoffs, winning a B qualifier game.
Shocking. She never wins anything.
Now beating up on the boys too.
A very good Swiss team. They're an incredible team.
She's got Germany's Sixten Totzek in the quarters. Peter de Cruz and Jan Hess rounded out, and Marco Hosli will take on Returnas.
Those are some good games.
And here we're definitely getting some interesting angles set up. Ruohonen makes the hit in the middle, does lie 2 now. And the nose double looks like it jams as well.
I do think it jams. It might not dead stuff and stay there, but it looks like it does.
I wonder if the call is hit the yellow hard.
Which yellow? The guard?
Beside Darryl there. Run it in. Try and get some drag back. Do the Reds make contact in the rings and both go away? You see the angles up in the top right-hand corner there.
They could, and it's hard not to make contact. So, you're making noise and you should be killing at least one red. This doubles. I think if you hit this on the nose, if you hit it on the nose, it might spill out on the low side. It might not dead stuff there. But if you hit it a little low, if you cross this at all, I think it dead stuffs. And so it's a little bit scary to throw. You could play it the other way maybe. And you actually, there's a chance you could get all 3 reds if you play it the other way and you just graze the red in the top of the 8-foot. You might get the one at the back too and they all go, but it could also be a disaster. So it's a little bit risky.
Yeah, this is one of these types of shots that, you're a millimeter from perfect or disaster.
Exactly. It's so sketcy in that sense. You could almost make a perfect shot and give up 3.
And this thing is a little out there.
Uh-oh.
That is kind of terrible.
Not good, although the shot for 4 is difficult. It's there probably, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether it's 2 or 3. Sorry, 1 or 2 right now.
Yeah. It looks like it's only 1, but it's close.
Yeah, it just got a little overhyped on that shot. Yeah, like you're saying, you hit that a little bit thicker, you cross it in the back, right?
Yeah, you could make it the double across the face, which was the safer way to me to play the double because, like we talked about, the risk of the jam if you hit it on the nose. But that was even a little bit too thin for that. looks like he's going to try this little tap. He could sit 4 out of this if he makes it good. I'm by that ice, I'm guessing sort of a backline kind of weight. Try to get as close to the face of that back red as you can. As you can see from the hack, it's totally buried, but based on the curl we've seen in this ice so far, he could get to it. If you move that yellow at all, you could sit a mittful.
Yeah, it's the kind of shot that it will leave Sobering out. These are behind the tee line, but it's definitely going to put him under pressure.
Got to get by, though.
Oof.
Oh, that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
You got one of the
Sobering's
best
got it
sweepers in
out
the
now.
game there trying to keep that straight for you, so you can't blame it on that. Now here's a huge opportunity for Team Sobering. Still pressure on, though. If you miss this, it's an easy deuce. Or he could try the exact same shot, and now he knows exactly how to throw it. Just either take a little bit more ice, or maybe he was a little bit tight to the broom. It's hard to tell, but you like his chances of making it a second time if you give him the opportunity. So need to make this pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect. You bury any piece of this rock and ideally sit shot, but even if you're second, you probably hold him to 2.
Yeah, and the way deuces are flying here, I think you're
Exactly.
quite comfortable.
Giving up a 2 in this game has not been a big deal so far.
Yep. Yeah, I think he was originally looking at drawing inside out, but I think they've settled on this draw here.
I think this is the way to play it. You have way more margin for error on this side. If you try to play it the other way, it's just a smaller space for it to be a good shot. Like I say, all you have to do is tuck a piece here. You don't have to be buried. Just hide a piece of this rock, ideally bite the forefoot, and you're in pretty good shape. Looks like they think this is a little bit hot right now. Line is good. Oh, over curled on them a little bit.
Yeah, I
That
think
ended up in,
was a little heavy, so they couldn't touch it with sweeping. They were
yeah,
a little
that's the
concerned about
challenge.
that.
Line was tight, but you can't sweep it because it's going to go too far. It actually worked out not bad. This is it's there for. It's probably only for 1 if you hit that on the nose, though.
Yeah, you hit a little bit on the outturn side.
You
I'm
could make
terrible
this
with high side, low side.
high side.
High side. You
for a
might make that
right-hander,
double
which-
in the back.
You could. It's really touchy, though. You could also touch your own just as easily. But if you ever made it, it's for 4. Need to score here, though, for Ruohonen. It's not an end where you can really afford to give up a steal, because then you're looking at needing a deuce back just to be tied coming home without, which you're not going to win that game very often. So I think scoring is the biggest thing, although with this ice, it looks like he's taking a run at this double.
Yeah, here's the opportunity. Time for a big shot.
It's definitely there.
Final stone here, 6th end. This is the Goldline, U.S. Open contender. Rich Ruohonen looking for a big shot here to score 3 or 4.
This needs to curl for him.
Real close. Up
Nice
goes the
shot.
number 1. That's 4 for Team Ruohonen here in the 6th end. Wow, what a game.
Risk
what
pays
shot
off.
making.
That was a great carve by Corey Nernberger. I think you have to give him a lot of credit for that shot. That was a little wide out of Richie's hand. It looked like he set it a hair more than he wanted to, and Croy carved that the whole way down the sheet and made it perfect.
So you can put 4 on the board. 9-5 now for Team Ruohonen. Sorry, 9-6 for Team Ruohonen after 6 ends here at the Goldline U.S. Open contender. Back here for the seventh end. We've got 4 other games going on right now. Sorry, 3 other games going on right now. Corey Dropkin playing Connor Kaufman in the other A qualifier. Looks like Dropkin is handling that one there. Ignore that first end on the scoreboard there. That's a little glitch right now going on. Early season hiccups on the website and stuff. Looks like not sure what's up with Casper Wendling there. Oh, sorry, Wendling 8-1 winners over Daniel Casper. And of course, Riley Fenson is up 6-2 on Jed Brundage. So it sounds like you'll be back for our next show as well, Chelsea. Looking
Sure.
forward to sticking around, hopefully.
I can.
It's been great having you on board as well here, commentating, calling the games. We've got lots of people following around on our YouTube and our Facebook page. If you're on our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification button so you hear when we're up next. It'll send you a little email or a little notification. And of course, on Facebook, like it, share the stream to your page. We always love it when you can kind of show everybody else this is going on. It's really helpful to us. And come join us in the chat. We've been following along a little bit here and there. If you've got any questions for Chelsea, throw them in the chat, and we'll see if we can get a couple on air here as well. So now again, even trying to figure out how that center guard got up there. It's actually kind of a corner. Oh, sorry. Looking at the wrong screen.
I was a little confused.
As I'm sure everybody was. There's that guard I was talking about. Look at that. So yeah, it looked like they were trying to either go around it. Definitely a little wide on that line there.
I think the line wasn't bad for going around it. It just was light.
Light, yeah.
Which is not probably how you want to miss if you're Team Ruohonen right now. Heavy's better than light when you're up by that much. Because now you've given them essentially another corner guard. See a double corner here by Team Sobering. I like that play. Need to try to get a 3.
Yeah, the first corner guard there was definitely a little too high, so they utilized it to put the second one around.
They might have done that on purpose with the intention of throwing 2 corners is what I would have done if I were them. But I mean, the other option is to throw a kind of a halfway corner and then go around it, and they still can't hit it as long as they can't see it. So could be either way, but regardless, looking like not a bad situation early for trying to set up your 3 for Team Sobering here.
Looking like just going to make a play in the middle, tap up the redstone.
Like to get to the nose of this. It's really close to perfect. Really good shot there.
Like
Does
you're
give
saying,
an opportunity
though,
for a hit and roll, though.
Yeah, this is still a great setup here for Sobering.
Yeah, that second shot by Croy, unfortunately for Team Ruohonen, really couldn't have ended up a lot worse than that. You'd be better through the house than you are there. So just a bit of a miscue on that one has led to a great setup, really, for Team Sobering. The good news for Team Ruohonen is that even if Team Sobering does manage to get a 3 here, they're tied coming home with the hammer, which is a great situation. If you got to choose at the start of the game, you'd take that every day. biggest thing here for Team Sobering, and they did it, is it doesn't so much matter about making the double. You just have to keep your shooter in place somewhere. They would have liked to have rolled that a little bit more, but as long as you stick, the only thing you can't do there is roll out and let Team Ruohonen, go up and start peeling. For Team Ruohonen here again, it didn't set up well for them early, but their goal for this end is going to be to clog that middle up as much as they can, which you see them, they didn't want to roll that buried behind that corner guard. They don't want to bring the play behind there. They want to leave this in the center and give themselves a chance at getting a force out of this. Or, I mean, worst case, they're pretty happy to give up a deuce as well, because then all of a sudden you're one up coming home with the hammer, which is obviously a great situation. Nice draw there. It is behind the tee line, but it is also shot, and it is very buried behind those corner guards. So pressure on here for Team Ruohonen to make a good freeze and negate that rock. You could also peel this high guard.
Making a play on that backstone.
This is a brave call and very well executed.
Yeah,
That looked
really
like
well thrown
such
there.
a tough shot from the hack that I'm very surprised they threw that, but they made it perfect. So I was always told growing up that there's no such thing as the wrong call if you make it.
Yeah, that's the aggression of Team Ruohonen coming into play, and of course, adding Andrew Strapera to the team, he seems to fit in very well with that.
Yeah, fearless for sure, which is a good quality most of the time. It'll burn you every so often, but it's worked out pretty well for Richie the last few years.
Andrew is the son of Bill Stopera, former U.S. champion, playing third with Heath McCormick.
A little surprised at how much weight they threw at that. You wanted to try to roll that underneath this guard, and they threw that with what looked like sort of a normal hit weight versus I would have thought more like a bumper board, if you will.
Yeah, I think those are the shots that are the last to come for a developing team.
Yeah,
Looks
and
like he probably overthrew that a little bit, just got a little excited in that spot.
it's difficult. The weight control is the hardest thing, and again, like we said with the rust, that's the part that you miss pretty quick is just that different feel with the kick. It's such a minor difference in how hard you have to kick to throw, from sort of an easy weight, control weight to a normal hit and back. It's a tough one when you haven't had access to practice ice. Same idea here. I would expect this to be coming with a little less weight.
I'll try and get that roll underneath that corner guard.
Yeah, anywhere low on this, you just got to cross the face at all, and you should be buried behind that corner. Look like a little softer release.
And
This
on it
might
out of the
curl.
hand here.
Yeah, it might curl.
And I don't think he likes it. Oh, you would really love that if that clipped just a hair harder and
Yeah,
touched
they
that top
actually
red.
almost should have got off it, but it's hard when you have a chance to get by. It's hard to make that call early enough. But that's one of those where when I say softer release, what most of the top players will do is finish that rock out just out almost outside the broom a little bit. And what it looked like he maybe did is kind of rolled his wrist over just a hair and got it started moving towards that corner guard. They run it right out of his hand. Looked like he might have just we would say hooked it or turned it in just a tiny bit, and then it's hard to save it once on ice that curls. If you get it started early where it's curling, it's hard to undo that.
So we do have a question from Dustin Hanson, and he wanted to know what's the best custom curling shoe you've ever seen? And of course, you have kind of thrown with a bit of a custom setup in the past as well.
I have, but I've always used actual curling shoes. So for years, I had a slip-on steel slider, and I got my curling shoes fitted so that it would fit on the front of that shoe. I've never worn sneakers or I've never done that, but it's very common. And I think the best ones I've seen, the most interesting ones anyway that I've seen, aside from Matt Hamilton's ridiculous shiny turquoise ones for a couple of years there, are the ones that are actually a weightlifting shoe. So Chris Plies, for example, has it's a shoe with a little lift in the heel. It's a weightlifting shoe that he's got for his curling shoes, which I find very interesting. So for sweeping and for throwing, your weight being a little more forward, I mean, maybe that's helpful. It depends on the dynamics of your slide, but I think it's, when I first saw them, I thought, that's an interesting take on the custom curling shoe. So I would suggest those ones as far as actual functionality. The most interesting ones I've ever seen are any pair that Matt Hamilton has worn in the last 4 years.
Yeah, he's usually got something pretty shiny going on.
Always, like Croy's bright yellow ones, or sorry, Chris's bright yellow ones here are interesting, but they're nothing compared to anything that Hammy's worn.
Of course, you've got Colin Huffman with whatever that collar is there too.
Yeah, very bright.
Yeah, it's nice to see some color in our sport. It's a lot of black out there a lot of times.
Yeah, well, they're getting into it a little bit more. I wear Asham curling shoes with a steel slider, and I've had them in multiple colors. The ones I have right now are gray based on my last team's color scheme, but I've had red ones when we were Team Canada, when we were wearing red jackets. They've got green and blue, and they're all over the place, which is kind of fun. It gives you you can kind of match them to your gear, which is something we haven't seen in a while. To your point, it's a lot of black and it's been quite boring. So to see them get into a little bit of color is kind of a fun thing. And again, you're seeing the custom ones. So now you're all over the place with people just going to buy sneakers and then getting sliders and grippers put on them. And then you can pick your poison, like I say, Matt Hamilton with all the colors. Even I remember John Morris's team at the Olympics at the Olympic trials, and what year would that have been? 13. With the green ones, green and gray, to match the color jackets that they had coming from the pre-trials and stuff. You can get kind of creative with it, which is, like you say, interesting in a sport where it's been so conservative for so long with plain black shoes.
Yeah, we've got somebody in the Twin Cities area that's kind of made a business out of this. Craig Nico, Craig's Curling Shoes.
I've seen
He'll
that,
put
yeah.
together a great pair of shoes for you.
That's awesome.
So big mess here for Team Sobering.
Not a great result, but I don't know how great the result could have been. You didn't have a whole lot there as far as the angles go. So advantage Ruohonen here for sure.
Yeah, you really just had to blow that up and give yourself a chance to score here.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, this red rock sort of kicking back into the side of the button there makes that tough, but he couldn't have done much else. He had to blast that, like you say, and try to open it up enough that he has a shot to score, which I'm not sure he's going to, depending on where this goes.
For Team Ruohonen, lots of conversation here as to how to finish this end off.
Basically, just don't give him a triple, and you're in pretty good shape.
And the question is whether that double is there or not, if you can squeak by the yellow.
The O turn. Yeah, I think it might go over it might jam, though, even if you can make it.
Yeah, you'd have to hit as much of that red one as possible to try and get it by the back one.
But you can only see maybe half.
Yeah, that's the question.
And I think
like
half
if you
touches,
paper that guard, do you make it?
I think it touches the yellow. I mean, maybe it touches it just, it might stay in the house if you just paper it, but it looks to me like it's really close. Half might get you by underneath. But yeah, you'd have to absolutely squeak that tight yellow guard to have a chance, because you can, I mean, I'm being generous when I say you can see half from the hack. If you were a lefty, you'd have a better angle.
So it looks like Ruohonen is trying to play some sort of draw top of the house, but sweepers are standing back from this.
It's all there for weight. Might still be okay, though. Like, now you give him a shot for one, but it's not for more than one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt for Richie Ruohonen, not what he called, but it's a force, which leaves you 2 up with the hammer, which is pretty good.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted to not set up the triple. Getting the force here is great. It'll bring you home up 2 with the hammer.
Well, and that's the thing with the call is, and with the miss, like the right side miss is to make sure you sit 3 and take your force. Like, it looked like you could steal 1 or 2 and maybe the game is over, but you don't need to. You don't need to steal 2. You're going to be up 2 with the hammer, and then you just run them out of rocks. So smart miss, a veteran miss there by Richie. You don't want to miss that light and maybe give him a chance to get 2, which, I mean, still you're 1 up with, but that's a big swing when it looks like you could steal 1 and go 4 up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't let them back into the game.
Exactly. Just don't give them any breath. Don't give them a sniff, because it's dangerous when you do that. Sometimes that momentum swings, and then the next thing you know, the game turns around.
So last rock here of the 7th end. Darryl sobering with the hit against 3.
Well played.
Yeah, they've been on point. Darryl's playing well out there, and just a couple little mistakes here and there, they'd be right there in the game. Fortunately, they do trail 9-7, coming home without. We'll be right back. Team sobering here. Now down to 8th end, last end here in the A-Qualifier at the Goldline U.S. Open Contender. Rich Ruohonen of Chaska taking on Darryl Sobering of Denver. Ruohonen has the hammer here in the 8th end, up 2.
Looks like ice for a tick here for Team Ruohonen, which is smart. Just want to keep it as wide open as you possibly can with the 2-point lead and the hammer. Looks like they might do that.
So of course, Chelsea Not sure if you get the theme music in the background or not, but it is your birthday today.
It is.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're not going to be around to watch any curling later tonight, so...
No, I'm going to miss it tonight. I've got a couple friends coming over for a little birthday dinner, so I'll be out of commission tonight, but I'll be back watching the playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah, it's great to get it together with some friends and family this time of the year. Everything going on, it's sort of, maintaining those connections and...
Yeah, luckily nice outside here today, so we can sit out back and stay distanced and safe, but it'll be nice to see everybody, so I'm excited.
So it looks like about a half an hour's time from now, we'll be back with the next draw. We'll clarify who is playing in that game once we get a chance, but we'll be covering everything from here on out to the end of the day. So lots of streamed curling to come. I think we've got 4 more draws left today.
It's like another attempt at the tick here. It's really close on this one. Love to roll into the house here so that your shot as well gives you that saver. If you ever have to make a hit on your last one, you don't have a stick, which, I mean, you're 2 up. It shouldn't matter, but always nice to just have that little bit of insurance if you can get it.
It's just the idea that you sort of control some of the rings too, right?
Yeah,
like,
just to be shot to make that. Eventually, you have to deal with the fact that you're shot rock. So it's always a nice thing to be able to do. It didn't quite get there, but it's a really great shot. I'm making it sound like he missed it, and he made a great shot. So I certainly didn't intend that, but it's looking pretty good here for Team Ruohonen. Fairly wide open. Will they be able to sit 2? Maybe, but he should have basically the entire 8 foot to draw to win this game, worst case scenario.
And looks like this thing's going to come up a little bit light here.
Oh boy. Well, if it looked bad, it looks worse now. Long guards are tough because it's so easy to do that, and you don't want to throw that too hard and have it set up an easy double peel, but at the same time, obviously it needs to be in play. So it's one of those ones that's tricky to throw. Oh boy. Don't see that very often from Colin.
That is not ideal.
Basically just
early season.
Erase the last 2 shots to 2 complete zeros in a game where we've seen not a lot of misses.
So another chance here for Team Sobering to throw up a center guard. At this point, down 2 without, your end goal's got to be to try and lie 3 here somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you lie 2 buried is okay, but if you just lie 2, then he's got a wide open hit. So in a perfect world, you lie 3. It's not looking like they're going to be able to do that right now, but that would definitely be the goal. Hope for a rollout, force the extra end.
Well, you did get a flash on the last one, so, you got to kind of hope the chance might be there again.
You got to hope. I don't see another flash coming, but I didn't see the first one coming either, so you never know. Wow.
Ooh, boy.
What is happening? Both these teams saved all their misses for the last end.
2 in a row there for Colin Hoffman. They hold on for this win here. I'm going to think he's going to be throwing a few peels coming up before tomorrow's quarterfinals if they can find some practice ice.
Colin Huffman's a great player. You don't see him miss those very often. To see him miss 2 in the same end is unheard of.
Yeah, we'll call that September curling.
Yeah, that rust that we talked about. There it is.
So yeah, things really interesting here. So it looks like he's calling another guard here.
Really hard not to set up an easy double peel with this guard.
Yeah, this is a situation you definitely should be going in. Put the winning point on the top, or sorry, put something around the middle. You got to get around there. They're going to peel the middle. You go around the corner. They're probably going to peel that corner, try and run it in. And then you can draw another one around either your yellow corner or the red corner, and there's your chance to lie 3.
If the yellow guard, the one that's closer to the house, if it were tighter, then I don't mind the second guard. But because it's kind of halfway, it's so hard to make a good guard and not leave them an easy double peel that I'm not sure I wouldn't have gone around just because of the position of that rock.
Agreed.
I would think that you'd see them go around now. Here we go. Yeah.
Key time to find a good draw here.
Yeah, you need this one to be good to have any chance of pulling off a steal of 2 here. Ideally, top 4 foot. Really, anywhere from biting top 8 to biting top button is okay. Buried is the biggest thing. And it looks like they might rub on this guard, unfortunately. Left them with another guard, but needed that rock in the house. You're at the point of the end where you got to be starting to sit shot.
You might be able to make it across the top, make the double. The other favorite here, thin through the middle.
You could, yeah, you could feed that through the middle. Probably the easier way to do that is to actually hit this right-hand side rock first with the out turn across the face, but that's dangerous if you ever knows it. There we go. Thanks, Richie, for backing me up there.
Andrew Stopera here. It's a new addition to the old guys here. There it is.
Great shot. See Croy sweeping that out. The reasoning there being that they don't need points. They don't need to sit shot there. And if they leave it behind the tee line, it's just a weapon for team sobering. So get it out of the way. Just make Richie's last shot as easy as possible.
So for Skip, Darryl sobering. 2 shots to come. He needs them both to count. This one not light.
No, it needs to curl a lot too. It looks like it's heavy and tracking out here.
Yeah, Darryl's played so well this game. I think this shot just a matter of, kind of seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, it's hard to.
This game is pretty slim.
A little hard to stay focused in this situation, especially when the end has gone the way it has with the misses that they've seen.
And that looks like it's it. Handshakes. And that will be a 9-7 final here in the A-Qualifier at the U.S. Open Contender, sponsored by Goldline. Chelsea, I really appreciate you coming in and tuning in and joining us for the stream here.
My pleasure.
It's been great having you on and hearing your insights. And we'll be back in about half an hour or so with our next feed. I hope everyone gets a chance to tune in. Be sure to like, share, comment, say hello. Let us know where you're visiting from, watching from. feel free to post some photos. Love to see the screens up and where you've got us set up. If you're following us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell button. It'll let you know when we're on next. So until then, we're looking forward to lots more curling today, and it's been a joy here. Any last thoughts, Chelsea? You got about 20 seconds.
Nope, I'll see everybody in half an hour.
All right, thanks a lot. Cheers, and until then, take care.